Afghanistan is complex ethnically, geographically, topographically, culturally, linguistically, in every way. All of these cultures represent different socioeconomic, linguistic groups. Many of them represent different religions. There are Sunnis and Shiites, who are the two primary religious Islamic denominations. There are myriad tribes and clans within tribes. You can see it's quite a complex social mix of peoples, and this mix manifests itself ethnically. These are all pictures of employees of mine at my beverage plant in Kabul. I went there to open a bottled water plant to use as a platform for sanitary food product development, distribution, and service. The women in the company would come dressed in burqas. They're all war widows. Can you see those? Is the contrast too much, or maybe without the lights? Okay. These are employees, and the older people are their fathers. And they represent a group, or their children, of people from around the country who really ought to be at each other's throats and have been historically for millennia, but in our company we were able to bring together men and women, Uzbeks, Tajiks, Hazaras, Pashtuns, who are all tribes, Sunnis and Shia, who are different Muslim sects, people from around the country to pull for common business goals within the company to develop a safe and sanitary food product, namely bottled water, that would have a real impact on the quality of life and standard of living of the people who we serve, not only our employees, but also the consumers of our product. On a business note, we started out working in the bazaar, in the local markets, to try to service local demand, but we could not be successful in that regard because of subsidized low-cost competition from Pakistan, which is financed by the Pakistani government. A lot of the products are counterfeit Nestle products. They are unsafe products, and you'll see a picture here before too long of some Nestle knockoffs. One of them's full of bacteria, one of them's full of algae. All of them were put on the market basically at about half of my cost of goods sold. So I couldn't compete in the local market because of distortions brought to it by counterfeiting, by smuggling, by foreign government export subsidies. So we went after the high security account market in Afghanistan, specifically U.S. Special Operations bases, NATO bases, the Afghan parliament. We secured all those accounts, several ministries and embassies, several airlines, and unfortunately, because of the exposure that then brought to me as a foreigner in Afghanistan doing this, my landlord was kidnapped. And it took his family several months and about $3 million to get him back. And then the CEO of the Coca-Cola plant was kidnapped, to roughly the same result. There were 3 attempts made on the CEO of the Virgin Cola franchise, and then there was me. So I basically was turning all of my employees into a target for kidnap gangs, not to mention the risk to me, so I left in December. Leaving was one of the hardest things that I've ever done personally, because they're all my employees and other people who are building their future on our company and my vision as to where we could go with that company and how they could use it as a vehicle, as a platform for them to be educated, trained, employed, and basically have increased probability of participating in their own social and economic and political future because of the prosperity that companies, social entrepreneurship-oriented companies like that bring. The company is still operating. We've lost all of our foreign high security accounts because I brought the credibility to the company that gave NATO and special ops and other comes the confidence that I could guarantee food security. They don't have that same confidence in my Afghan partners. So we've lost those accounts, but we've gained several Afghan National Army and Afghan National Police accounts, and the company is doing okay. I think that last time I was here at the end of my presentation, a number of you came up and asked questions, some of which were about drugs. And so I thought it'd be maybe appropriate just to talk a little bit about that. This is the highway from Jalalabad to Kabul. These are typical trucks which are used, among other things, for opium smuggling from Afghanistan into neighboring countries. This is the interstate highway. This is what it looks like. The countryside is very rugged, extremely rugged. It is desolate. Everything's remote. You can see that also where there is water, it's extremely fertile and productive. Where there is not water, it's not. Opium poppy is what's called a dryland irrigable crop, and it doesn't require irrigation, pesticide, fertilizer. This is my son at Osama bin Laden's house in Jalalabad after it was remodeled by B-52. It's my daughter who came and visited me last October. These are typical views of farming areas where opium poppy is grown. And this photo shows the complexity of villages, the way those village compounds are all walled off to provide complete privacy and security to the occupants. That makes it very difficult in terms of military operations and any kind of drug interdiction operations as to where you find people, how you even locate them, let alone do anything about them. These rural agricultural areas are dominated by traditional rural elites, families who were born to lead. They are landed aristocracy who own the land, the buildings, the people, the animals, the crops. And these rural elites are the true decision makers in the country, because they're the ones who control all of the agricultural resources, specifically water and agricultural output. And they are the ones who are the real power brokers for the rural areas of the country, which of course is most of the country. So it's these guys who, in thinking about drug production in Afghanistan and what we're going to do about it, are the ones that really need to be addressed. And they are translated terms, our rich guy, landowner, these privilege by mandate relationships with these guys are generally authority and legitimacy that were bequeathed to families by previous kings, or in some cases by the British Raj when they invaded Afghanistan. And so these guys control all the agricultural production. When you go beyond the well-established irrigated areas, when you go beyond those areas that were primarily developed by the US and the Russians prior to 1974 with the overthrow of the king, this is what a lot of the country looks like, and this is the way a lot of people live. These are Coochie